Evening, everybody. Welcome to the latest BCL Beyond the Boundary. Slight change in interviewee and interviewer this week. I'm Adam Coates, ex-West Orton, Horwich, Blackrod, a bit of Northern League as well. And following a request from a number of people, myself included, we thought it'd be good to turn the tables on Boothie and ask him some questions back. I have some questions as well from some former interviewees. So I hope you're ready for this, Boothie. But thank you for the opportunity to do this. It's nice to get chatting about Bolton cricket. Something as you know, close to my heart, remains close to my heart, even though I'm not as directly involved as I used to be. So first of all, Boothie, obviously most people will know you as Falmouth first team captain. I've been for a number of years now. But can you explain a little bit about your involvement at league level, how that came about, what it entails, what you enjoy about it, maybe what some of your frustrations are about it?
Okay. Well, recording this, so I can't go diving in too much. But no, obviously, yeah, I'm involved at Falmouth. I've been for a number of years. Basically, the league executive committee was formed based on a rule change, essentially. So the Bolton League became 20 clubs, 2 divisions of 10, and obviously trying to get things passed at a league meeting with 20 clubs is virtually impossible. So there's a few people, myself included, said we need to look a little bit deeper into this, because if we want something to get through for the benefit of the league, and let's say, for instance, I'm just making this up, the top 4, top 5 clubs who are the most successful want something to happen in terms of standards or covers or 2-side screens, whatever, it's never going to get through because you need a majority vote. And it might be for the best thing in the league, it might be for the better of everybody, but you can't please everybody. We live in a world where you literally can't please everybody. And out of 20, needing 16 votes was nigh impossible. So there was a proposal to put together an executive committee. And on that executive committee, there would be, your standard stakeholders, your chairman and your treasurer, etc. But they put together where they would have a player representative on the league executive, and I was put forward for that, and that was voted on, and I was voted on the committee.
Was that not the case previously, Boothie? Was it just made? Was the league committee just made up of club representatives who may or may not have been a player? Is that how it was previously?
Pretty much, yeah. So they would have your standard AGM or your EGM if things weren't going so well, and you would put names forward for chairman and secretary and junior rep and whatever, all the major stakeholders of a committee. But them people, I'd be remiss to say this, and this might ruffle a few feathers, but they don't necessarily know what's going on at player level. What the players want now. I'm not saying the players are the most important part. I'm not saying that, but you've got to have a balanced view of what everybody wants from top to bottom. And I think over the years, as the Bolton League got bigger, that got lost. So the reason for the executive committee was to have a more balanced view from top to bottom, from the bottom of the second division right up to the people at the top, to give people a voice, essentially.
What do you enjoy involved?
Obviously, I enjoy sort of being involved with the decisions on the format. What sort of cricket we play. I'm passionate about what type of cricket we play and how it's put together, and the fairest way for everybody. I'm lucky that I've played in a successful team, so I've seen it. I've played at the top division. We've won the Lancs knockout. We've won leagues. But I've also played at Heaton when I was younger in a lot poorer side down at the bottom where we were fighting. So I would like to say that I think I've got a very balanced view based on my experiences.
And what about the frustrating? Must be something that frustrates you.
The frustrating part is actually a positive, and it will be a positive in the future. But the frustrating thing is that I don't feel that committees, and this is not just the Bolton League, this is everywhere. I don't think they communicate with the clubs and the representatives as much as they should do. Now, using social media, Twitter, Facebook, emails, WhatsApp groups. So that started to be combated over the years. But I think sometimes when league exec committees make decisions, it doesn't flow through, and you don't understand the reasoning why. Well, why have they made that decision? You know, there's no sort of explanation. Where I think in current day, that gets down to the right level a little bit better than it did before. It was like, well, they've made a decision. I don't like it. That's crap. That I don't like that. I think it's that explanation, and you know, in terms of life in general, and you know, me and you work in the business sector. Communication is always the thing that people complain about. You know, lack of or what have you. So hopefully, with modern technology, that explanation of decisions and why gets to the right people.
And how, as an exec committee, how have you managed the situation of not being able to meet, and let alone there being not being any cricket, put that aside, but not being able to meet? Have you done things like this to obviously clubs are wanting to know what's going on? Presumably they're coming to you guys to
absolutely. So we've not had a league committee, a league meeting on Zoom, but we've had exec committee meetings on Zoom. I use this for work, so it's second nature for me, and that's why I ended up doing these interviews. But yeah, we've had probably, we might have had half a dozen meetings so far, 4, maybe 5, 6 meetings. We've got one coming up tomorrow, funnily enough, obviously with Boris's blunder the other day, and a few other things flying around. So, you know, adaptive cricket, what does that mean? No one really knows. But the Bolton League have got to be in a position to react quickly. That's the.
Do you think, is the gut feel, Boothie, at the moment? Do you think clubs are ready to go?
I think so. Yeah, I think most clubs are ready to go. I think the difference this year is that, you know, your professionals and your overseas are probably not going to figure. But again, there's got to be a positive spin on that. Your own lads who might not have got a game are now going to get a chance. Yeah. So it might be a development issue. There might be clubs might be able to spend a few quid on the facilities. You know, I think Bolton leagues get a bad reputation in and around, and you've played in the Northern League, playing on flat, hard ones, and, you know, Bolton League, it's chip shot cricket on bad wickets. Well, if you know your cricket, you know that's not true. You know, yes, there's a few bad wickets, but there's bad wickets all over the country. You know, I've got the money to pump in. Now, I can only talk about my own club and clubs that are close to me. Kersley's literally 12 yard over there. It looks a picture. It's never looked as good. So I think people have had time during COVID to look at the facilities, look at what they need doing, maybe make some improvements.
I think I think it is going to be interesting to see how the grounds react, and the wickets in particular, because we're now in the last week of June. You'd have normally had 2 months of fairly solid league cricket. Hamer Cup would have started. Maybe the Lancs knockout, certainly national knockout games would have started. Junior games. So already 2 months in at this point. Yes, we've had a decent summer and it's been dry, but actually you've got grounds having more time to recover than they've ever had. So personally, I think it'll be, if we get on the grounds around, you know, the back end of the summer, I think there'll be some good decks around, even in Bolton.
So. Even in Bolton, yeah. Fingers crossed. We might not score any runs on them, but they'll be all right for batting
them. So you mentioned something there, Boothie. I'll just pick up on that of you said about beyond the boundary. How and obviously Zoom's allowed you to do that with a number of people. It's been absolutely fantastic. I love watching all of them. How did that come about? Whose idea was that?
The league exec. It was the league execs. We had a meeting. It was at Farmouth Cricket Club, believe it or not, because it was the only place that was open. And they said we need to have an exec meeting with regards to how we're going to react to, you know, potential lockdown, etc. And we're all sat in this room, 3 and 4 meters apart, frightened to death of being anywhere near each other. And John Hutchinson, obviously as the chairman, said we need a way to engage with people. We need a way to keep people talking about cricket. People who know John, you know, he's mad as a box of frogs at the best of times, but he loves his cricket. He's very passionate about cricket, and he wanted to keep talking about it. So he sort of threw the gauntlet to me and said, you know, you're the youngest, you're the techie man. what can we do? You know, we can't meet.
Nothing to do with you being quite vocal as well, then.
Nothing to do with that at all.
Or the reason why you asked me to do this.
But no, he said, you know, how can we keep in contact with people? So after about half an hour of thinking about it, I don't know why, but I looked on my phone and I had in my calendar that I had a Zoom meeting with somebody, and I thought, why not use that? So I pitched the idea. I said, I use this software called Zoom. It's like, you know, virtual meeting. I could interview some captains, chairman. We didn't have a format at the time. It was just an idea. So John said, well, go away, have a think about it, see who you can get on. And, you know, started with Genty in his hot tub and then went to Mark Atherton. So I went to people who I'm very friendly with first and people I speak to regular. And then it's just snowballed, really. You know, I've ended up speaking to people who you would never expect to talk to. You know, obviously I've had Rod Eswick on earlier this week. You know, he's a hero of yours. And, you know, to speak to the West Indies coach about Bolton cricket is phenomenal. So it's been great. I've really enjoyed it, to be fair.
You have to try and get one soon. That'll be a good one. During the interviews, obviously, like you say, you've done a good variety of people, current players, obviously ex-players, etc. Lots of people who I've played with and had tussles against and stuff. Has any of those conversations provoked any thoughts for you that you hadn't thought about previously? Whether that's looking in, you know, bit rose tinted into the past or looking to the future. Has anybody raised anything that you hadn't, you know, considered before?
Not really. I think the format of it was to obviously get chatting about cricket. And if, you know, you talk to people who's not played for a while or not been involved in it, then you are going to go back into the past. It's part and parcel of the conversation. But I've been shocked at how interesting it's been talking to these people who's not played for a while. Your people like your Taddies, your Mark Stewarts, your Chalkies. They've still got that fire. They've still got that passion. They still love talking about it. They want everyone to do well. And
I think you've probably named just about three of the most competitive people I've ever played against.
You know, and it's them sort of people that need to be involved at grassroots level. It's them sort of people who need to impart their knowledge on other kids. And I don't know whether they've got a coaching badge between them, but I'm not being funny. They know more about the game than all of us put together. So, you know, I don't know how we do it, and I think it was Taddy who mentioned it about maybe formulating a body outside of the league committee, which maybe poses ideas to the league and says, what about this or what about that, or raises some funds or what, you know, something like that.
I think as well, something like that, again, personal view, I think is a great idea because you can take, you know, towards the end of my career, I went and played in the Northern League and watched a lot of cricket around here, watched a lot of cricket in Cheshire. And you do pick up different things. And I think, again, personal view of one thing we have to avoid for the progression and continuing excellence of the Bolton Cricket League are the Bolton blinkers. We can't afford that because, I don't think any area can. So going back on sort of for you now, Boothie, on your cricket past, as I say, obviously you've been at Falmouth sort of 15 years now, nearly as synonymous with Falmouth as the Axfords almost now. But what first got you into the game? First memories. Tell me about that.
Something that I chatted with David Kerr, the historian, and obviously and Stuart, because people might not know this, but my first club was British Aerospace, or Lostock as it's now known. Yeah. And the reason for that is because my dad played there. My dad pro'd there and was captain there, and I can't remember not playing. You know, there's pictures of me at 3 and 4 year old with a bat in my hand. It's not made me any good, like, but I've had a bat in my hand since I was 3. So yeah, it's my dad, it's my parent, it's my family essentially. My granddad was a pro, my dad's a pro, my brother played a lot of cricket, I play a lot of cricket. So it's just been in the family really, and just sort of moseyed my way through. I've had 3 or 4 clubs back and forth. Started off at Aerospace as a very, very young kid. Went to Falmouth, played at Falmouth as a kid. The junior section wasn't there; it was non-existent.
Yeah.
Social circle. Played at social from being maybe 12-ish. Got thrust into the second team at 13-year-old, keeping. Did quite well. We won the league and I won the keeping prize. And then I got the opportunity to go to Heaton in the first team because I couldn't get rid of Walshy. Walshy was in the first team at social. And
everyone's been trying to get rid of Walshy for years and it still hasn't happened.
So yeah, we chatted about that on the keepers one, but he was obviously a bit of an inspiration, but in a roundabout way. So couldn't move him, moved on, went to Heaton. Absolutely loved my time at Heaton. Was very privileged to keep to some very, very good ballers. And then in 2005, a good friend of ours, Chris Barrow, got on the phone and said, I need a keeper at Farnworth. Why don't you come back and play with your mates? We've put a team together. Me, Tim, Grundy, Michael Daly, Neil Hyde had played then, and Aki, Lee Childs, etc., etc. And yeah, went back, and the rest is history. We won the treble in that year.
Yeah, it was an interesting time, that wasn't it? Because of the year before, 2004, the strong West Orton side, predominantly of local club lads, did very well, and then Farnworth again. You know, obviously exceptional pro in Parchy as well, but you know
which was a total fluke because he should have gone to Parchy should have gone to Heaton, believe it or not. My dad spoke to Steve Dublin, who was pushing Brenton to come over. We signed him to come to Heaton, but Heaton re-signed Awani, and we were stuck in limbo. And as I went back to Farnworth, my dad spoke to Aki, and Brenton ended up with us. So, a good fluke, but it was a fluke.
Not a bad first year. You knew, your sort of new old club though.
Yeah, just a bit. Yeah, we set a fire under at Farnworth really on 2005, and done well ever since really.
Because I think the 2, 3, 4 years prior to that, Farnworth had been struggling, hadn't they?
Yeah.
And it was that real shape of, like you say, Tim and Chris Barrow and that core group of people that came into the club and I say in what was a strong time became the leading club.
Yeah.
You mentioned a couple of things there. I'm gonna pick up on two things, and then we'll come back to address one by one. I want to mention about keeping. Obviously, that's what most people know you for doing, and also your dad. So if we can just pick up on your dad, because I'm lucky enough to know your dad. But a lot of people probably won't know that family legacy that you touched on there. Can you just tell us a bit more about Larry's time in?
Yeah, of course. Well, he had me at 38, so his cricketing prowess had sort of finished when I was born. I mean, so, the first time I saw him pick up a bat properly he'd have been 47, 48-year-old. He was finished, but still doing quite well. He won the Hamer Cup at Farnworth with Paul Raymond as pro and what have you. But in terms of me, old man, he'd been a pro a long time. Pro'd at 19. That was his first proing job. Moving from Ramsbottom to proing. He's had more clubs than Tiger Woods. He's played everywhere. He's played in all the different leagues. He's played in the Lancashire League, the Ribblesdale League, the Bolton League, the Bolton Association. He's been all over really, and obviously been very successful, better than I'll ever be. Obviously played as a professional, got paid to do it. And he's obviously a very, big character in and around the Bolton area. People know him. People have played with and against him. And it's obviously I sadly lost him, not long ago, and it was a huge hole really in my family's life. And just try and carry on really, and try and be as good as I can be really. And I think that's what me to touch last year really.
I don't think in all the years I saw your dad on a cricket ground, I never saw him without a smile on his face. So, I think that's and similar to you as well. So,
well, unless he were talking to me about me batting, and then he was giving me a massive bollocking.
Yeah, well, that's what he's there for. So, thanks for that. That was a nice touch. That. So coming back to, let's say, my other part, what made you start keeping wicket? Probably not only what made you start, what made you carry on when most people give up?
Well, I'd have been. I didn't do it for very long actually. So I copied my dad. So my dad was an all-rounder, batted and bowled. So that's what I started off doing. So from being probably 6, 7 when I started playing competitive cricket, because I always played well, was always quite a big lad. I was always quite a strong kid. Never really tall. I would love to have been taller, but I was always quite strong as a kid. So playing under 11s at 6 and 7-year-old is a bit weird, but I was strong enough to do it. So I batted and bowled, and one particular year, which would have been 84, 94, about 1995, 96, I played in a junior side at Farnworth, who had people like, and there'll be a few names that people don't know here, but Sandeep Patel, David Darby, Michael Daly still playing, Gary Hull, Gary Crompton, and we had a really good side, and we won the Harrison Cup that year. But one particular game, we had no keeper at all. We didn't even have any kit. And Steve Hutchinson, who was our manager, who's sadly not with us, got some keeping stuff off someone and whizzed them to me and said, "Get them on." I was like, "Well, I've never done it before. What do you want me to do?" He says, "I want you to bowl your overs, and once you've bowled your overs, I want you to keep for the rest of the game." And that's what started off me keeping, and I absolutely loved it because I was involved in every ball, and I was just dead greedy. I was like, well, this is great. Even if I don't catch it, I'm still getting it because the fielder's going to throw it in. I took to it, really enjoyed it. And then people like JP, a massive influence in my cricketing career. Heroes such as Dave McIlraith at Social, watching him and knowing about him. Billy Wheeler being another one. Again, names that people might not know, but I sort of looked up to people like that, especially JP. And then seeing people like Tim Walwork, watching people like Tim. Chris Evans, who's a good friend of mine, a phenomenal keeper. Alan Evans, another one I still speak to this day, and he was a top keeper. Used to speak to Brian Cricken a bit when I was a kid as well, with his friendship with my dad. So, I sort of quickly got into keeping, and just out of sheer greed for the game, thought I'm never going to put these gloves down. If I'm not batting, I'm keeping. I'm involved all the time.
It's funny, those of us who have a few words to say always seem to end up in that position, don't we?
No comment.
just a thought, just a thought. So we talked obviously there a bit about sort of your junior cricket and getting involved, and you mentioned obviously 2005 went to Farnworth, brilliant start, and like I say, never look back and become you as an individual become more and more involved, obviously as club captain, no doubt in the committee with the league, etc. I'm interested to hear though about the Axfords and probably Martin in particular, but the Axford family, their influence on Farnworth, and also into the wider Bolton area cricket. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, we'll take Martin because I am probably the closest to Martin than all the Axfords. But again, it's a family thing where Tony Axford basically bribed my dad to go and play for Farnworth through giving him a job. So we've been intertwined with the Axfords from me being 6-year-old, something like that, some in that sort of region. So my dad worked for him for a long time, maybe 30 years. But in terms of cricket, they are just absolutely cricket mad. They're just absolutely. Martin lives and breathes cricket, and I think he'll still be playing when he's 90. He just can't let go. So his love for cricket is huge. Obviously, he took over Farnworth Cricket Club. I might be wrong here, but very late 90s-ish. Bought the club, took on the club. Invested heavily in it. Put a lot of his own money in the club to get it right. And we're only just seeing the fruits of that to this day, really. So it's been a long project for him. But, he lives and breathes cricket. You know, he's had so many good professionals at the club, and he's looked after them, and he's got, you know, some fantastic relationships with some really, really big, high-profile people. Obviously, he's a successful man in his own, you know, his own business and how he is. But he's very, he's quite humble, and he's quite a very quiet bloke. Really, you don't get to know him. No, not many people get to know Martin. He's quite a very quiet chap, really, unassuming. But not when he's got something to say. If he's got something to say, he's quite vocal, and he don't mind voicing his opinion. But his influence on local cricket is astronomical. For people who don't know, I mean, obviously they've sponsored the Bolton League, the Axford family, for God knows how long. And even before that, you know, Tony Axford supported the town team, which obviously me and you have been in, the Lancashire junior age groups. You know, he's been a massive sponsor of them as well. And he's just one of them people who'll help anybody. He'll help any club. You know, if a club went to him and they wanted a bit of assistance with something, whether it be materials or an idea, or he's helped that many clubs up and down the Bolton, not just in Bolton, outside of Bolton as well. Obviously, Bolton Cricket Club was another one that they sort of took on, and that went by the wayside, but that was more of his dad's club than Martin's. Whether that gets resurrected or not, there's a possibility that someone might play there, so we'll see. But yeah, I mean, they just love cricket. That's the only thing I can say about him, and he's still as passionate to this day. Sneak preview: I've actually got him to agree to do one of these for me.
Really?
I am actually going to interview him. Yeah, I am, because people know me from Farnworth, but I think people would love to listen to Martin because even if you were stood at side of him, you'd only get 5 words out of him at best of times. So yeah, he's agreed to do this, and that'll come out in the next few weeks. So that'll be a good listen for people.
Good. Change the topic now. I'm going to move on to something that I know you've been involved in, which is senior interleague cricket. But you know, I was proud to represent both the association and the league. Lucky enough to captain the league when Tat was in charge. But in recent times, it seems to me that almost the prestige of representing the league has disappeared. And I'd be interested in your view on that, really, and whether it's something that you think should come back, and in what format.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've been very, very lucky to play in the interleague side, and you know, there's been some top keeper batsmen around, and obviously Rick Northrop probably being the best all-round keeper batter in the Bolton League for
no question about that. Yeah,
1,000 runs, top, you know, good gloveman. So, you know, when you pick a league side, if I was picking one, I'd pick Rick Northrop over most people anyhow. So I'm lucky that I've played in a Trinity Cup. I've played in interleague sides, played under some great captains, played with some top people, and it's just a good day. It's a fantastic day. It's a showpiece game for the Bolton League and other leagues. And I think definitely leagues need to get their heads together and put something out there. Definitely, 100%. It needs to be resurrected somehow, shape or form. It needs to come back. So whether it be Northern League, Palace Shield, GMCL, Bolton League, Lancashire League, it doesn't matter. You know, everyone needs to put into that. And I would be more than happy to try and facilitate that. And I think there's plenty other people who would. I've just mentioned them: Chalky, Stewie, Taddy. You know, they've all been huge parts of Bolton League sides, successful Bolton League sides. And it's just good for local cricket. You know, one club gets a fantastic spectacle on their ground. Obviously going to make a few quid out of it. You know, I would, you know, it sounds a bit daft and a bit hoity-toity, but I would ask clubs to bid for it. You know, submit a proposal of what they're going to put together and why they're going to make it such a big day. Whatever, family fun day. Put a load of inflatable things on for the kids and barbecues, and make it a great day. I remember going to I remember going to interleague games and there'd be like Manchester Evening News banners
Yeah.
everywhere, and you just don't get that anymore. So I don't know the reason why it's fell down, but it certainly needs putting back up.
Well, I agree with you for what that's worth. So a little bit connected to that, looking at the wider regional piece on cricket booties. So comparing the current standard of the Bolton League versus the teams you come up against now in the national knockout, in the Lancs knockout. What's your view on that?
Falmouth have always seemed to pick up a Liverpool comp side. We've played Bootle, New Brighton, Highton. We've always seemed to pick up a Liverpool comp side. I don't know why. We played a few Northern League sides as well. I think we played at Barrow, Netherfield, and places like that. And I think every league that I've ever gone to is the same. We're all much of a muchness. We've all got top sides. So I'm not one of them that goes, oh, we're this, we're that, we're better. Yes, our record in the Lancashire knockout is phenomenal for the Bolton League. It's there, it's in black and white, it can't be taken away. Do I think it's a product of the type of cricket we play? Yes, I think it's definitely suited to the type of cricket we play. High score wins, get 300 and defend it. I think your strong West Orton sides that you've played in have always had people who could score big runs. Falmouth sides I've played in have had people like Nizar in, and he gets 150 on his own. I think the brand of cricket we play is definitely suited. Standard of cricket, standard of play. I think if you're a top 4 or 5 club in any league in Lancashire, you're as good as one another. I don't subscribe to the brand of they're better than us or they're better than that. No, I've played against them all, so I've been there. I've played against them all. They're all as good as one another. We've had some absolute thrashings off sides, and we've thrashed some other teams as well. So I think we played Flixton twice. We absolutely murdered them at our place, and we got absolutely bounced all over the ground at their place. We fetched leather all day. And that's just one club that I can think of that we've played a lot against. But yeah, I think you'll always find your level in a league, whether it's at the top, the bottom, or the middle. And it doesn't matter whether you've got 20 clubs, 70 clubs, or 30 clubs. The top 6 will always be your top 6. Your bottom 6 will always be your bottom 6, and everybody else will mull around in the middle.
Yeah, I agree with you. So this one might get a bit. You might have to be quite forthright with some of your answers. So I'll put the forthright question to you. We've lost what I would have classed from my time in the league as core Bolton League clubs: Edgerton, Bradshaw, Heaton, Greenmount. We've seen a number of ex-association clubs come and decide to go elsewhere, and obviously each club makes these decisions for their own reasons.
Yeah.
But what can the Bolton League do to attract and keep these types of clubs that are in the geographical area? Like I said, for me, there's core Bolton League clubs that just are missing at the minute. But what do you think the league can do from here forwards? Never mind why they left or anything like that. But what can we do from here forwards to be more attractive for clubs to join the league and then stay?
Cracking question. I didn't expect that, if I'm honest. In terms of being attractive, I think it's very difficult for Bolton League to attract new clubs to come unless we've got something really, really different. So if you had, I'm going to make this up as I go along. I'm on the spot here, but let's say we put £1,000 up as the prize to win the league. Would that attract a few clubs? I think it'd be 50-50. I think some clubs might think, oh yeah, we could do that. But let's be honest, what's £1,000?
No, a season's
not
worth
even,
of balls.
It's not even £100 a piece, and it's not even half your balls. So
It's better than a flag.
Yeah, true, flag in a pot. But I don't know. I don't think you can radicalise what Bolton League have got. Bolton League have got very competitive cricket. It's localised. You can throw a blanket over all the clubs. There's some very, very good clubs. There's some poor clubs. I think the Bolton League are probably going in the right direction in terms of putting a set criteria in place for at what point at what point you're in the league. If you're dropping well below the expected standard, then you sort of get a telling off and you notice and you get told you need to do this, 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 and this. But again, I'll come back to my last point. I don't think any league's any different. I don't think none of them are different. Heaton have decided to move on to pastures new. Obviously, Heaton are a very, very close club to my heart, and I don't understand why they've left, because I would flip that question on its head. A lot of people say, they're leaving and all that. Well, why leave? I'd rather understand why you would want to leave. The grass is obviously not greener. This is not going to go down with a few, but tough luck. Greenmount are on the way again. They're going to move to the Lancashire League. That's not worked for them. Edgerton have already applied or did apply to leave, and I truly believe, I think Edgerton is one of the clubs that I enjoyed going to more than anywhere. It was a great place to go. I've had many tussles up at Edgerton, with Will Alton and Cleggy and Stu Hornby and the rest of them. They've had some cracking players, some cracking pros. And I truly believe that they might have lost a little bit of their own identity moving on. They had a great year. I would love to see them come back. I would love to see Greenmount back. I would love to see Bradshaw back and Heaton back. Is that going to happen? Probably not. Probably not in the short term. But I think if I asked every one of them, has moving took your club on to bigger and greater things, they've all got to say no to that answer, because they obviously haven't. And that's not me slagging off anything. I'm not going to stand here and say GMCL this, GMCL that, because it's not true. The GMCL have got a brand of cricket in their top division which is absolutely phenomenal. And I've got new friends now that I never had before. Andy O'Brien at Denton's a good friend of mine. After us hating each other in the Lancs knockout final, we're now very, very friendly. We talk all the time. So in terms of what they have, again, it's top division cricket. It's going to be good, isn't it? It has to be. If you've got 70 clubs, your top 10 are going to be very good.
Yeah.
But as it made these clubs into better clubs, have they got increased revenue? Have they got more players? Have they got more juniors? I don't know. You'd have to ask them yourself. But Farnworth were asked if we would like to go on, and obviously I've been a huge part of Farnworth. I still am. And then were the questions that I asked myself. If we moved, would we get more people watching us? Would we have a bigger social gathering at our club? Would we get extra juniors? Would we get an influx of players? No, you wouldn't. You've got to put your own house in order for that to happen. West Orton are doing that at the moment. They sold the ground. They moved on. They've got this fantastic facility that they've got now at West Orton, and they're trying to put the pieces together now. They're trying to get there. Farnworth, turn of the century, were terrible. Let's not mix our words. Farnworth were probably the worst ground in the league and the worst team in the league. They were shocking. You used to laugh at them. And from 2004-05 onwards, they've been. So clubs go around in cycles, don't they?
They do, and I think that is certainly true on the field, and even at our localised level, I believe that does have a direct impact. So if the team are doing well and you're playing in cup semi-finals and cup finals and big Friday night, what Horwich do with the T20 is amazing, packed. So and they're doing well,
yeah.
And people are doing, and you've got crunch league games, you're busier. You're busier as a club. There's more revenue coming in. People are spending more in the bar. So I think those cycles are very much linked. You know, you tell me a club that is finishing bottom three that is as busy as when it was finishing top three, and there isn't one.
No, that's true. One thing I'll just add to that, because there'll be people now want to stick pins in me. But one thing I will add is that the idea behind the pyramid system, putting everyone together, if everyone would have gone to one big Lancashire pyramid, I truly believe it would have been absolutely unbelievable. I think it would have been amazing. You know, and a very good friend of mine and a friend of ours, Derek Kay, had that vision a long time ago, and he was shunned. He was said, no, that can't work, it will never work. Well, it has gone that way. The GMCL is a massive machine. It's got a lot of clubs in it, and it's obviously got a lot of potential to do whatever it's going to do. The clubs that didn't go, the big clubs, and I'm not going to name any, but went to the Lancashire League, remain in the Bolton League, etc., etc., etc. So, yeah, I do firmly believe if it had gone big, and I think the ECB and the LCB would have all gone together and said, no, listen, this is happening, get on board, it would have been off the charts.
I think you're almost like that. I think you're almost creating that semi-professional element of the game, like football, where you are travelling a lot, but people are doing it, and there might be more openly, you know, payments involved and whatever. But I think that's,
you know, travel again. I'm another one. I don't subscribe to the travel thing. If you're playing first team cricket and you're playing with professionals and overseas, 45 minutes in a car is not end of the world, is it? You know, it's not the end of the world, is it? And you can get pretty much anywhere in under an hour. So it's not the end of the world. That it's the brand of cricket that you're playing, and it's the level that you're playing at. You know, essentially.
I think I can only my own experience of leaving the Bolton League 2011, joining Leyland, and going into a team and a league where first class cricket is in almost every team. Minor counties players coming out your ears, and you know, lads that I played with and against in that 3-4 year period. For me, that was as near as I ever saw to that. So if it takes another 5 years to get there, I think I think that could only be for the benefit ultimately for Lancashire cricket and getting local lads pro contracts. You know.
Yeah.
So, my next question on the list was actually about what about the current format and structure of the league, but you've kind of answered that, so I'm going to spin that around a little bit. In the short term, next 2 to 3 years, do you see the Bolton League format and structure changing?
Yeah, I think it will do. It'll have to do. And it's going to go one of two ways. It's going to go back to what we sort of came from, the 14 club structure, 12 club structure, whatever. It'll either go to that, or B, it'll go bigger. And when I say bigger, I don't mean bring in more clubs and all that, because that's not going to happen. You know, you're not going to go and pick up 6 clubs, you know, and make it into, or pick up 8 clubs and make it into a 24, which is the utopia number. What might happen, given the current situation with Tier 5 professionals and the possibility that the Home Office don't want to give non-Premier League status clubs that facility, you might see the Bolton League end up merging with another league to create 2 Premier Leagues, you know, out of necessity. So whether they want it to happen or not is irrelevant. If we want to play with professionals and overseas players, which we all do, you know, I don't think there's anyone I've spoken to who's had a bad word to say about professionals coming into the amateur level. That might have to happen. It might have to happen. Watch this space. I think until the Home Office come out with some actual proper rules, regulations, or what, it's all pie in the sky at the moment. This has not only happened this year. This has happened for the last 3 or 4 years. And then on the Tier 5 visa becomes this little bit that says part of a professional league. And that's why the Bolton League have always had pros, and they keep having them. they keep going on about this Premier League status. How can you measure whether one league is better than another? You know, if you had two leagues and they're pretty much the same, how can you say that them are a Premier League and they're not? I don't know how that's measured. Are we going to have to go out and measure people's boundary lines? Are we going to have to go and say, well, they've only got 55 sight screens between them, but they've got 59? You're going to have some criteria to go against. You know, and cricket clubs in the Lancashire area, most of us have got roll-on covers now. Most of us have got 2 sight screens now. Most of us have got electric scoreboards now. There's been massive leaps forward for a lot of clubs. So what's a Premier League club? Because I don't know. I have no idea.
Interesting, for sure. Right, I'm on to my my guest questions now.
Oh God!
So the first one is a cracker from Chalky. So Boogie, if you had the choice, would you prefer to have played when you have, so the last 15, 20 years in the Bolton League, or earlier in the 80s and 90s?
I'm going to give him the answer that he wants, but I'm going to give him why. I would have liked to have played back in the 80s with the Chalkies and the Dave Smiths and all them, but I mean, I did do to a degree when I started in 99. But yeah, I would have loved to have played back then, but for the reason that I would have loved to have played with my dad in his pomp. So yeah, that's the reason for that. But yeah, I think people, if you've got it within you, you want to test yourself, then you would want to play against the best. And I think I have that. I would love to play the best standard of anything I play. You know, if we were doing anything, I'd want to be the best at it. You know, I'm a terrible loser. You know, I sulk forever when we lose. So yeah, Chalky, I would have wanted to play back then for them reasons.
I don't think I'll dispute your sentimental answer to that one, either, Boogie. So the next question from Mark Atherton, and I'm sure somebody else wrote this text for him earlier because he used the correct use of i.e. and etc. in the same sentence. So, Boogie, what would you change from when we played as youngsters in the league now, i.e. draws, etc.?
I've said this before, and it's a real fuddy-duddy answer, but again, I'll back it up. I think there is huge merit in a draw. I didn't think it at the time. At the time, I hated it. I hated draws. I thought this is rubbish. We've just got 420. Parchment's got 180. Like, why do we have to ball these clowns out for a win? This is ridiculous. But knowing what I know now, there's huge merit in a draw because the young kids coming in at 9-10 jack or whatever, being told by your skipper that you can't get out because you're going to lose puts a lot of pressure on young lads. But I think the lads who are playing now, and I think there's been an age gap missed, unfortunately, which is just above probably me and you. There's definitely been a generation missed. But I think them lads who are playing now are the ones who are doing quite well because way back when we played for draws, you put a price on your wicket. Now, lads come out, they're chasing 300, they go whack, 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 out, walk off. You know, it's a different type of game. The art of captaincy.
Doing that, movie.
Well, that's true, but the art of captaincy is gone, in my opinion, as well. You know, you can get 300 and then just start and stick 2 on fence, 4 sweepers, strangle the game. Game's done in an hour, isn't it? They're not going to chase 11 and over. So that for that reason, I would probably go back to a structure where you have to bowl sides out to win.
Interesting. We're getting called an old fart and all sorts.
I know that.
Right, so I'm gonna last potential lengthy question, and then I'm gonna do a bit of a quick fire where I want you just to answer. So this is back to one of my questions. What's been your most memorable game ever in the Bolton League, playing or watching?
Most memorable. I would say there was a Lancs knockout semi-final game on at Farnworth the year that we went on to win it. We beat Littleborough, I think, at home. And it was at a time where I was still probably not a recognised batter, really. You know, I was probably coming in middle order, giving it a whack, and then getting out. But it was probably the first time that I'd ever batted 30 overs in the first team, and I managed to graft a 70 odd and won us the game. And I think from then onwards, it sort of, the penny dropped a little bit, you know, and thought, well, you can actually bat. You know, you're not just a go in, biff it around and worry about it afterwards. So I think from that day forward, improved me as a player. But that always sticks in my mind because it was obviously a personal achievement, which I'm very proud of.
Good one. Right, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 6 quick fire ones here.
I'm going to get myself in trouble here. I know I am.
Right, so I'll right, easy ones first then, mate. Best pro you've played with?
Nizar.
Best pro you played against?
Oh, that's a cracking question.
Not other leagues, Bolton League only.
Can I have one that's played in the Bolton League but didn't really play much in the Bolton League?
This is not quick fire, Boothie. Come on, get
Asif Mustabar.
Right, okay. Best amateur, Bolton League. With or against?
Dave Smith.
Go with that. Most consistent performer you've played with?
Ooh. Probably someone like Chris Barrow, I think. Yeah, with bat and ball, Chris would tend to figure in most games.
Hardest to keep?
Hardest to keep too?
Yeah.
Probably Hawani when I first started, I think. I sort of learned on the spot. I got dropped in the deep end with that one. But he made me look an idiot for a good 6 to 8 weeks. One of them. Go that way, and ball went that way. Absolutely, embarrassing. For 6 to 8 weeks, I looked like an absolute idiot.
I've still got that framed picture, by the way.
I know.
Ball and me batting, and I don't have it up anymore. But yeah, I was gonna get it out of the loft and embarrass it. Biggest moaner.
Biggest moaner. Currently, Ross Sutton. He could moan underwater. Biggest moaner. I don't know. Chalky liked to moan. I think when I didn't play with him long, but playing against him, I don't think it's more moaning. It's more constant, like, you know. I don't know a word for it. Just constant being there.
Chunnering.
Yeah.
Chunnering's a good word.
Chunnering's a good word. Yeah.
Take that, Chalky. Right, this one might get you in trouble. Who's been the biggest underachiever you played with?
Neil Hyde. Straight off the bat. You know, whether people know him or not, he nets and he looks like Tendulkar, and then he goes into a game and he looks like an under-15er. Very, very talented lad. Can do everything. Bat, ball, field, catch. Very, very close personal friend of mine. But yeah, I think he is an underachiever. I think he's a lot better than his stats have been. Whether it's a mental thing with him or not, I don't know. But a very, very talented lad.
I've just thought of future star.
Future star, Daniel Schofield. He's no one have heard that name, but Danny Schofield is a young kid who plays at Farnworth. He is they've just dragged him out of a greenhouse because he's about 6'3" now. He was a young, skinny lad who come to Farnworth at a very young age. He's only 14, maybe 15 now. He's a left-arm seamer, right-handed batsman been picked in a few age groups recently, and I think he's been maybe picked for Lancs and Interleague and stuff like that. He's one to watch, but he might end up being a potential professional American football player, which I know is bizarre, but
Loads of those.
oh, there's a shed full of them. But he's a very talented young kid, yeah.
Good answer. Maybe last question here now. After the slowest 5 questions ever.
Sorry, I know. I just didn't want to get myself in trouble.
So, if Martin sold up tomorrow, built houses, where would you go and play? You've got a good few years left to play.
Oh, that's a horrible question to ask me.
Can't say Eton.
Greenmount or West Orton?
And on that bombshell, Boody, thank you very much for the opportunity to do this. I'll always love talking to you. I'll always love talking to you about cricket. Keep doing what you're doing with Beyond the Boundary. It's fantastic. The exec committee should be really proud that you've taken that mantle on. And I hope people have enjoyed listening to us natter on tonight.
Well, yeah, fingers crossed. I don't know how long we've been. This is probably one of the longest ones. I don't know how long we've been going. Have you got your timer?
My phone's locked. Talking that long.
No, the idea is that people listen and get to speak to people who they wouldn't normally hear from, and they've heard me prattle on every week. So a few people wanted to hear my side of the story, and here we are. So hopefully people have enjoyed it. If they've not, I'll probably get slagged off on Twitter, and I literally wouldn't care less. So,
well, at least I've had an entertaining background rather than your, prison cell. So
neutral.
Thanks, Boody.
No problem. Thanks, mate. Speak to you soon.
Cheers.